We brought you into a laboratory setting so that we can talk to you about the maintenance of a model trimmer. There's a lot of things that you can do to help keep this model trimmer in running order and prevent a lot of the issues that come along with its general use. We want to show you some of those spots that you're going to need to focus on. So the safety shield here is a requirement by OSHA in most areas, and unfortunately the overflow or the splash gets on here from the machine and it becomes hard to see, and instead of technicians cleaning it and using it so as a safety shield, they have a tendency to just push it out of the way. Not a good plan. We'll get back to how to clean that in just a moment. The surface of the wheel is also something that's very important for you to keep clean. The more stuff that gets stuck in that wheel, the worse it cuts and causes you to replace the wheel more often. So we're going to talk about cleaning the wheel. Also, we're going to talk about keeping the tables clean. There are 3 different kinds of tables. All of them require some maintenance, and we're going to get into cleaning those. As we open the half-horse model trimmer, you'll notice the buildup that we have underneath the table. This can cause you some problems, especially if you're changing the table or using the orthodontic table portion of it. So we're going to talk about this buildup area. The next area that we're going to talk about cleaning is where the seal actually meets this back housing, and you can see that it starts to build up gypsum all along the bottom. If it gets too much of it in there, that's when your machine starts to leak. Okay, the next area on the half-horse machine is right here behind this plug. When you open that up, you can see in there some of the clogged up material, much like the Mississippi Delta. The last area that we want to talk about is the area behind your cutting surface. This area also collects a lot of material and can be problematic, so we'll talk to you about how to reduce that probability. These are pretty much the tools you're going to need on a regular basis to keep everything clean. A little bit of liquid cleaner, a little bit of WD-40 or some other penetrating oil. This is a product that's called the Clean Cut Wheel Cleaner, and we'll show you how that's used. Just some towel to wash things off, a soft scrubby brush, a regular flat screwdriver. We like around here just to use an old denture brush for some things. And then this is kind of a specialized tool. You're going to find that not in your dental catalogs, but over in the restaurant supply companies. And we'll show you how to use this little spatula to help you out. Okay, the shield is important. The material that's on there is gypsum, and therefore it can scratch the shield if all you're doing is trying to rub it off with your fingers. So we suggest that you use a little bit of a liquid cleaner, something that's soft in nature. Simply wipe it off. And you'll be able to improve your vision through it. We suggest that you do leave it in place so that you can have that safety feature. Now, if you find that it gets damaged to the point where you can't clean it anymore, this is a replaceable item. You just call us and we'll help you just to replace that by undoing the screw and replacing it. Okay, the next thing that we wanted to talk about was the surface of your wheel. The easiest way to get to this and to keep it clean is to keep it wet while it's being used and to rinse it off afterwards. If your product, your particular trimmer does not have the water attachment, this is easily attached to the system and works to help keep things clean right while you're doing it. If you find that your wheel doesn't stay that way, you can open it up. Once again, use a little bit of cleaner fluid on there. I would suggest just a soft bristle brush, and just give it a scrub and get that wheel clean. And of course, we want you to do this with the machine unplugged. The next area to clean is underneath your work table. And the easiest way to access that, rather than trying to scoop out from here, is to come back to the front and undo your set screw and then simply lift the table out. Now, just using a regular spatula or a laboratory knife, you can reach in, knock away all of the things that are in the way. Now, some of this may take a little bit of scraping and doing, depending upon how long you've let it sit there. This one has some buildup here in the center, as you can see. It may take a little bit more time to get it scraped clean, but things will work better once you get it done. Once you have the majority of that leftover gypsum material scraped out of there, this is where that denture brush comes into play. And you can soak this down with some liquid cleaner, something that's gentle, and then just go after what's left over on the inside until you're good and clean. Once you've cleaned up underneath the tray table, you might as well clean the rest of the table too, and as you can see, it builds up quite a bit. This is the orthodontic table and is going to produce less and less function the more that this builds up underneath it. So you might want to set it aside just for a little bit, spray it down with some good cleaner, and let it soak for a little while. Then you're going to have to come back with a brush, give it a good scrub or a good scrape, and try and get all of these little bits of gypsum pushed out and clean. Okay, we've got this all cleaned up on top. As long as we're at it out here on the front, sometimes it gets a little messy and can't hurt just to wipe it down and make it look nice in the laboratory rather than a giant glob of gypsum laid on there. Okay, now that we've taken care of the table area, let's turn our attention to the seal itself and also to the area on the face of the machine where the seal connects. The seal can just be scraped off this way, unless you have a lot of garbage and buildup on it. Just a simple scrub with the brush is going to take off most of what's on that rubber. If you find that there's some rough spots that are starting to catch, just use your lab knife or your spatula and just kind of peel those off. The same will happen over here where the buildup takes place. Start here at the top and just scrape through and get all that material to scrape off so that the seal can better adhere to that wall surface. When that gets built up like that, and then you subsequently take the machine's face away from it, try to put it back, sometimes that's where the problem is and won't seal. It starts leaking out the bottom of your machine. Now, as long as we're inside the machine here, let's also talk about the spray tube assembly. This is the internal part of the black knob that you see on the outside that controls the amount of water that flows through the machine. And depending upon how hard your water is, the little holes that are all along here can get clogged up, just with hard water, calcium deposits, things of that nature, just like it does on your sink at home around your tap. So you're going to want to go in just with a little explorer, find the little hole, poke it in, poke it in, poke it in, and just go through and make sure that each one of those individual holes are good and cleaned out, so that your water flow is exceptionally good. Okay, there we go. Looks good. Okay, now we're going to come over to the side of the machine here and we're going to remove the yellow plug. That's going to show us this well that's underneath here that collects a lot of this debris. This material settles, and that's why you're seeing all of this in here. It'll also settle up to a thickness that will impede the flow out of the exit tube in the back, and so you want to be able to scrape all that out. That's where this big kitchen facility spatula comes in. You can just take it out and remove all that material. And with that, I think most of that material is cleaned out. And then a lot of it that's still loose in there will flush out when we turn the water back on the machine and allow it to go out the drain. Now, before we button the machine back up, we need to address the back side of this wheel. If I can show you one that's not been very well maintained, it would look like this. Okay? The wheel has collected all this gypsum, and over time it has layered out and layered out and layered out, just like silt in a river. And this is what causes that wheel to shake and shimmy as it's spinning around and dance around on your counter tile. We need to keep this stuff cleaned. And I'm going to show you how to do that. But what I want you to know is that this is a two-piece wheel. There's a hub and a backing plate. That's what this thing is called. And this hub and backing plate are put together here at Whip-Mix, and then they're spin balanced. And so you can see there's been some weight taken out of this particular side, just like if they had added weight to your tire when you go down and have new tires put on and have them spun balanced. You don't want to attempt to take this off of the machine to clean it, because once you do that, if it doesn't get back to the same spot, it's not going to be in balance anymore. So simply take the front wheel off to access this face, and you can do that over here with these 3 screws. Now if these 3 screws are too tight in there, it's because the slurry has gone behind there and locked it down. So you'll use a little bit of WD-40 on there or some other penetrating oil to get inside there, and then you can unscrew it, take out this hub, and the wheel will come off, leaving you looking at the backing plate face. Once you take the hub off here, out of the center, you'll notice on the back side that it has a cork gasket. These will deteriorate over time, and you're going to want to replace that on occasion. We kind of like a 5-year thing around Whip-Mix here. 5 years, replace things that can wear. That way, you're always in top speed. Okay, once you get this off and the 3 screws are gone, then it's easy to just take off the carborundum wheel that's on the face, and you'll notice the backing plate that's behind it. Okay? Leave these 3 in place. Don't try and take that off. We're going to show you how to get to this back side of the backing plate in just a moment. Okay, now that you have that off, and you're not taking this off, but we want to address any material that's stuck behind there, that's where this cake spatula comes into play really nicely. Simply slide it behind, engage the wheel on an edge, and then slowly rotate your wheel around. And if you look down here, you can see that that material is coming off the back side of the wheel just by turning this thing around and around and around. That will keep your wheel clean on the back side without damaging it, and you'll be able to get rid of all of that slurry, now dried up or stuck gypsum material. Okay, at this point you're pretty well done cleaning it. The only thing that you have left to do now is turn the water on, let the water do its job of cleaning up the little bits of things that are left over.